Hello everyone, it's Marcy, and I'm going to continue working on my file folder folio journal. And first of all, I must apologize for my stained fingers. I'm busy dyeing some papers, so my fingers are a little stained. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is work on what I'm going to put on this front panel right here. That's the front of my journal, or will be. So what I want to go right here, and what I want to go there is this little matchbook style notepad. And here I've just made sort of a prototype type thing using some scrap papers, just so I could be sure that I got my measurements correct and everything. So, first thing I'm going to do is use a piece of scrapbook paper that is 2 3/4 inches wide by 5 5/8 inches long. And that will become my background piece that will go down here. Okay? And all I did was I cut it to 2 3/4 by 5 5/8. If you did not stitch along the top and bottom of your journal, you could probably make it 5 3/4 tall. I just didn't want to get in the way of my stitching. So that's why I left mine at 5 5/8. Okay, then we're going to make this little slot. And I'm going to show you how to make the slot. This is actually take 2 of this video, which is why my slot is already cut. Just like in my last video, I was having all sorts of troubles getting my thoughts, words, and actions to work well. So, the first thing we're going to do on the background piece, you're going to measure 3/8 of an inch from the top. So I'm going to use this piece of scrap to do it on to show you. So 3/8 of an inch from the top. And I'm going to mark it in 2 spots so I can make a straight line. All right. So 3/8 of an inch from the top, and man, that does not look straight. Let's say it is, though. Then I'm going to measure 3/8 of an inch from each side. So 1, 2, 3, and make my little mark. And 1, 2, 3, and make my little mark right in the center of the line that I previously drew. Then I'm going to use the 1/8 inch punch on my crocodile. You can use whatever hole punch you've got. And I'm going to punch right at that cross mark. Okay. Then I'm going to pull. I use a metal ruler and turn it upside down. I don't use my plastic ruler because I tend to shave it when I do. So I'm going to line my metal ruler up just over the edge of the 2 holes. I want to be able to feel, when I use my X-Acto knife, I want to be able to feel where those holes are. Oh. And I'm going to cut straight across. Okay. Then I'm going to flip, and I'm going to line up just right to the edge of the bottom of the holes, and I'm going to do the same thing. And just slice straight across. And then, as you can see, the middle falls out, and you've got this nice slotted space. Works great to make the slotted pockets, anything like that. And that's exactly how I did this on my backing piece. So what I'm going to do now, except that I had a little bit of roughage left over on my backing piece. So what I'm going to do now is cap my X-Acto knife so that I don't hurt myself. And I am going to go ahead and glue this onto this page. But when I'm gluing, I do not want glue in the center area. I want it only around the top, the very edges, going this way. Now, let me show you with my piece. The top, it can go right up to that top cut line. That won't affect anything. But then as you're coming down your edges and your bottom, you want to do it just as if you were creating a pocket, because really that is what you're doing. You want to leave everything in the center free and clear. Okay. And now I'm going to align that, center it as best I can, and I'm going to, where did my bone folder go? I'm going to use my bone folder, but I'm going to push from the center outward, because like I said, if there's any glue excess, I don't want it going toward the center. All right, then I'm just going to set that aside and let that dry. Okay, for the next piece, we've got, here I've got a piece of cardstock. This piece does not necessarily have to be cardstock, but that's what I'm using. And it is 2 inches wide by 5.5 inches long. Then I've also got several pieces of little, just writing paper. It can be anything. It can be coffee dyed paper. It can be scraps of paper, whatever you want. And I've got 12 sheets here. They are also cut to 2 inches wide by 5.5 inches tall. And I'm going to stack those right on top. Then I've got another piece that is 2 inches wide by 3.5 inches tall. And I rounded the corners at the bottom edge just to make it easier to slide into our sliding pocket. and it will go right there on the back. So I'm just stacking. Okay? And now I've got one more piece that is 2 inches wide by 2 inches tall. And I'm going to put it, and this one I just eyeball. I don't really have measurements for it, but I'm making the tuck for the matchbook. So I just kind of eyeball it and then fold it over. Kind of get my marks across the top, and then I'm going to pull this one back off. I'm going to give small rounded corners on that. And then I'm going to flip it over to the back side so I can mark it. And how wide did I leave that? That is, we're going to call it 5/8, which would be about 5/16 would be center. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to mark about the center. I probably ought to do this a different way. I probably ought to measure, since this edge is much easier to see. So 5/16 there, and 5/16 there. Okay, boy, again, that does not look straight. I'm having real problems today. My ruler says that's straight. Huh. All right. Then I'm going to mark it. I'm going to go in 1/4 of an inch from each side. Mark that. And I'm going to go ahead and punch it with my crocodile. And I'm going to have to punch again, but that's okay. I'll at least have my marks. Okay, so I want everything scooted up to the top, including that little back piece. Don't forget about it. And I think I'm actually going to clip this so that they stay together. Of course, it would help if they were straight before I clip them. All right. Get that lined up. Now, you can do this 2 ways. You can either punch through. Now, well, let me back up. You don't have to punch the holes on this part. On this one, I just put a staple through it. Okay, this time I'm actually going to add brads. Now, if you're going to do brads, you've got a choice to make. You can either punch through everything, including this piece that is on the back, or, and what I normally do is I lift this punch my holes, okay, then put my brads in. And I like using brads just because it adds a little bit of an embellishment to what is otherwise really a very simple kind of thing. So that's why I really prefer using the brads instead of the staples, but you can certainly do it either way. And then you could cover your staple with a piece of lace or ribbon or trim, however you wanted to do it. Okay, now, why did that brad is not going to work. It only has one leg on it. Let's find a brad that has two legs on it, shall we? All right. Now, if you punched through this little backing piece, obviously, then you would stick your brads through the whole thing and your brads would show there. I like to do it this way and then glue this down so that my brads don't show, they don't get caught on things. But again, entirely up to you. All right. So then the last thing I want to do, and you could stop here, but the last thing I want to do is I want to give my matchbook a cute little cover. So this one is this strip of paper is 2 inches wide, and it was from a 6-inch sheet of scrapbook paper, so it's still 6 inches long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round these top corners slightly. And I'm going to slide it under the matchbook lip. And this keeps me from having to measure everything and be sure I have everything measured properly before I add it. And then I'm going to wrap this around the back. So it's kind of my cheating way to keep from having to measure and mismeasure stuff. Then I can simply glue this onto the back of that back piece. And there I've got my little skinny matchbook. Now, I'm not going to embellish this right now. I will do that later. Other than the little brads that I've got on there, but I'll probably add a focal point to the top of this. And then, this, using the little 3.5 inch rounded piece, will slide right in there. And there's your little matchbook notepad. And the reason I love doing these, and especially for a journal like this where I'm going to have my attached journals here in the center, but with the size this journal is, where it could easily be tossed into a purse or traveled with, then this gives you a great place that if you're out, you don't want to get into your whole journal, but you're, say, with your best friend Mary, and you just want to jot a little note to Mary, then you can jot it on. You can open this up, jot it here, tear this piece of paper out, and voila. So I like these for that purpose. Plus, I just think they're cute. Okay. So there is side 1, or panel 1. Other than, like I said, I'll be doing some embellishing there. For this panel, I'm going to make a sort of a little mini, teeny tiny little CD type pocket. So what I need is I need a piece of cardstock that is 6 inches wide by 3.5 inches tall. And I'm going to apologize because as I'm filming this, for me it's actually the next day, and I woke up and my right ear is completely plugged, so not sure what's going on, but if I'm yelling and or whispering, I apologize. Okay, so I've got my card that is 6 by 3.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my scoreboard, and I'm going to score it at 1 5/8 inches. So the mark just beyond the 1.5. And then I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to mark at 1 5/8 again. Okay, then I'm going to be sure that I want to score the bottom part of my card, and my paper is directional, so I want to be sure I'm scoring this edge, and I'm going to score it 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. Now, I could do it this way, but I hate fighting with that little corner there, so I'm going to flip it this way. And since it's 3.5 wide, I'll be scoring at 2 3/4. All right, scoring done. So let's put that away. And now I'm going to fold and burnish all my edges so I can see them. Okay, then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut just above the score line to the intersecting score line, and I'm going to miter that corner. It's really hard to see on this paper. And miter the corner. Wonder if it, nope, that side isn't really any easier to see. So I'm going to cut just above my score line. Where's my... and miter the corner. Okay, so then when I fold it all back up, I've got that. And that's what the back looks like. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to use my ruler. So my little pocket is 2 3/4 wide by 2 3/4 tall. So what I want to do is now I want to find the center. So I'm going to put my ruler down and I'm going to mark 1 3/8 here. And then I'm going to turn it on its side and find 1 3/8 here. All right, so now I'm just going to put a little mark there so that I know where the center is. And now I want to cut a circle out of the center. Now I'm going to use a die cut. If you don't have a die cut, you can find a round lid. It just needs to be a little smaller than your pocket. This one where it's going to cut will leave me, looks like it'll be cutting at about 2 1/16. So about I'm going to call it a 2-inch circle. And so I'm just going to use my cutting die and try to, I got to get rid of that one pencil mark that I keep trying to eyeball. Try to get it as centered as I can, and just like anything I do, it's not going to be perfect. Use a little piece of washi to hold that. And fold it all, because I only want it through the front. And pull out my little Cuttle Bug. And my plates, which are well-used plates. Now, like I said, if you don't have a cutting die, just find something round that is about 2 inches wide, and you can cut it using an X-Acto knife. You can however you can get a circle cut out of it. There's the old-fashioned way. I was never very good at it, but where you draw around the circle and then use your scissors to cut in the center and then go out to the edge and cut around it. I was never real good at that, but I have done it before. All right. So now I've got my circle. And I'll hang on to that. Don't know that I'll use it, but don't want to get rid of it just yet. All right. Oops. Now I'm just going to lightly ink my edges just to give them a little bit of definition. Not too much major distressing, just a little bit of definition, a little bit of an outline, sort of. And of course, if distressing isn't your thing, just skip that. Okay. Now I've got a piece of acetate. My pocket is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. So I cut a piece of acetate that is just a little smaller. I cut mine in 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. And it will slide right in here. But in order to do that, I'm gonna use, I need a piece of scrap paper. That'll work. I prefer using tape on my acetate just because the glue tends to smush and I don't want it to get in places that I don't want it. And sometimes it doesn't stick real well. At least for me. All right. So I've got acetate around, or tape around the edges of my acetate. So now, man, this pattern makes it really hard to see those lines. I'm going to cheat. And I'm going to put a little bit of distress ink on these fold lines so I can see them. Right, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it is storming outside. All right. Then I'm going to reburnish my edges. Now, I can't decide. On this one, I put a teeny tiny little thumb hole. Can't even really see it. And I don't know that it's really necessary, but I think I'm going to put one here as well. So again, I'm going to, oop, wrong way. I'm going to mark at 1 3/8, which would be the center of it. And because this is so small, I'm just using my 3/4 inch hole punch for this. And we'll just give it just a slight little hole punch there. Yeah, you really can't see it very well, but that's okay. I know it's there. Okay. Well, there, I guess you can see it a little better now. All right, so now I am going to just put some glue on that edge, and a little bit of glue on this edge. Fold that over. And now I'll put some glue on the bottom. Fold that up. Oh, and my little pocket is ready to go right on here. Now, do I want to leave it as... I think I will. I'm going to leave mine as a potential pocket. So I'm just going to glue my edges. I will not put anything in it, but the user of the journal might want to have an extra tuck space, so I don't mind leaving it there. There is the little CD type pocket to go on that panel. So that's going to be it for today. So we got 2 panels decorated. Next time I come back, I'm going to attempt to do all 4 of the inside panels, and we'll see how that goes. So until next time, I wish you all a wonderfully happy, crafty day, and I will see you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.